With your CIGTV news, I am GIS intern Shania Kelly in for Donna Bush. We begin with the recent preview of the Alvin McLaughlin exhibition at the National Museum titled Steep in Tradition, A Cultural Guardian Story and the Objects. The museum's Deborah Barnes-Tabora explains more.
The museum recently acquired some 360 historical objects from Mr. McLaughlin that range in age from the early 1800s into present day pretty much. And we found it, or thought it important to mount this exhibition at this time because we're also cognizant of the fact that International Museum Day is celebrated around the world on 18th of May. And the theme this year is Cultural Hubs, the Future of Traditions. And Alvin, having been the chairman of the East End Heritage Day Committee for over 32 years, essentially made East End a cultural hub. It's timely that we have discussions about the future of our traditions. We are well aware that East End obviously has a new chairman, and we would like to engage in discussions with them and indeed all other district heritage committees about how they see the future of Caymanian heritage preservation and support throughout the years, over the next few years.
Mr. Alvin, as he is fondly called, was able to view the exhibit with friends and family before the official opening on International Museum Day in mid-May. The day is celebrated around the world each year to bring awareness on the work being done by museums around the world. Meantime, the planning department recently held a workshop for around 50 people who are either architects, electricians, contractors, or homeowners. The primary objective of the workshop was to assist them in certain areas.
It was designed to assist designers and installers in better understanding some of the minimum code provisions as it relates to one-family dwelling, two-family dwelling, and townhouses. The primary objective of that was to assist them in ways that they would be able to better design a system that takes economics into consideration. The normal way in which designers are designing systems, sometimes they're inflated and result in larger services being installed in homes, and perhaps sometimes more branch circuits than are actually required by code. So we primarily focus on discussing just merely those minimum requirements. We also talk about a new device that had recently been implemented, which is a arc fault circuit interrupter. So an arc fault circuit interrupter is similar to a GFI. Those are little devices that we already see inside of our kitchens and our bathrooms. They're there that if you have a ground fault, rather than a person being electrocuted, it would open the circuit at a predetermined value that would be considered relatively safe and not necessarily causing death within a human. So that's between 4 and 6 milliamperes. An arc fault device, on the other hand, acts to prevent fires from happening. When it recognizes that there's a fault in the system, so if you had a faulty, let's just say that you have a refrigerator at home and that refrigerator develops some sort of fault. Rather than a fire occurring, that device would recognize the abnormalities within that circuit and act to open it immediately. So you wouldn't have to deal with the aftermath of the cost and all the other things associated with having to deal with fire damage, but rather it would have been prevented. So this is a preventative means that is intended to prevent fires from occurring in the first instance.
The primary objective of the workshop was to assist participants and those who work in the industry in the Cayman Islands. Finally, on June 8th, the Cayman Islands will celebrate Her Majesty's the Queen's 93rd birthday celebrations. The event will be held in front of the Legislative Assembly and will include a parade and a 21-gun salute. After the celebrations, the governor hosts a garden party on the lawn of the Government House on West Bay Road. Chief Protocol and Event Organizer Miss Melanie Sims explained that although Her Majesty the Queen was born on the 21st of April, it has long been the tradition to celebrate the sovereign's official birthday in the summer. This year, more than 140 uniformed services personnel and youth organizations will participate in the parade, marching from Central Police Station, Georgetown. The program will also include presentation of honors, including the Duke of Edinburgh program youth recipients. I invite everyone to attend and watch the colorful procession and distinguished proceedings, Mrs. Sims said. The ceremony will get underway on June 8th. For a look at our weekly schedule of programs here on CIG Television, you can go online to gis.gov.ky, and if you missed today's news update, on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. I'm GIS intern Shania Kelly with your news update. Thank you for joining us. Have a safe and wonderful night.
Did you know that planning permission is required for a shed? Did you know you should check with the department as a planning and permit application may be required? Did you know planning permission is required to clear land by mechanical means? You should check with the department as a planning and permit application may be required.
Boating, fishing, and water sports in the Cayman Islands are great, but keep a cool head. Here are 7 tips for fun and safe sea outings. Number 1. Use a checklist to plan your outing. Check the weather forecast, make a float plan, and share it with someone who is remaining on land, stating where you're going, with whom, and when you're expected to return. Visit your nearest marine supply store to get your safety gear. This includes signaling mirrors, whistles, and a flare kit. It's also very important to have on-board flotation devices and life vests for each person. There are different types of vests. Some are for water sport activities such as snorkeling, and others are for going on offshore boating or on fishing trips. Number 2. These items can be lifesavers in case of an accident or bad weather. Number 3. Use a motor kill switch, especially if you're boating alone. In case of a leak or breakdown, always stay with the boat until help arrives. If you capsize, an emergency beacon or locator device can send a distress signal to inform the authorities of your location. Larger flares will indicate distress to a boat, airplane, or search and rescue officials. Number 4. In addition to sunscreen, food, and beverages, it would be smart to have a cell phone. Make sure your marine radio works. Cayman boaters use channel 16 to communicate. Number 5. Also, don't forget your anchor and sufficient rope. Number 6. Boat operators should be familiar with the local waters and reefs, as well as the capabilities and functions of the vessels they are using. Always obey the rules of the sea and the marine environment, and have courtesy for others. Number 7. Alcohol and salt water do not mix, especially if you're the captain. Some useful contact numbers are 911. The RCIPS Marine Base is 649-7710, and the Port Authority is 949-2055. Smooth sailing, all!
Did you know that planning permission is required for an addition, alteration, or any material change to your house? The 10% rule no longer exists. Did you know you should check with the department as a planning and permit application may be required?